What's going on, everybody? It's your boy C-Zar with C-Zar Gets Crypto, and we are talking about Bitcoin Cash today. I made a video earlier today talking about the possible scenarios, whether you're bullish or bearish, that we would like to see for this thing to move, because, you know, the past week, we basically just moved sideways, right? We went down a little bit to start the week. I think, yeah, this was Monday here. We came down a little bit to start the week, but then, you know, yesterday, technically, like, not even 3 hours ago, we closed the week with a nice high. Actually, looking at the weekly, you can see that right there. Before I go too much further into this analysis, I want to give a shout out to the Dragon Riders, to the House of the Dragon. What's going on, everybody? I'm glad to be here. I'm glad that you guys are here. Thank you all for the comments and just the everything that you guys do. Comments, likes, support. I really appreciate all of you guys. Seriously, I take the time to read everybody's comments, whether they're nice, whether they disagree with me, whatever. I try, I think I do comment at least something on everybody's comment. I try to interact with you guys, because you guys interact with me, and man, it's half the fun for me. Like I like doing TA, but I don't need to do it on YouTube to do TA. I'm gonna do this by myself. Having the interaction with this community, it's half of what makes doing this so awesome, honestly. So thank you guys. Just thank you guys. But now let's get into the juice of it. We don't need to be sentimental. We're going to talk about Bitcoin Cash and where this thing could be going. Before I look at this fib, actually, I want to point out the weekly RSI, because we just had another first in Bitcoin Cash's history ever. We have been we've been in the overbought zone now for those of you who don't know how to read this thing properly. This right here is 1 week. I'm going to actually do this right now, right? So here's 1 week here where we're out. Oh no, that's the wrong. Oh no, that is right. Okay, out of the overbought zone. You can see where it intersects with this RSI. The next week was here, and there's space in between, but you can't measure in that space. Your cursor, it goes to one of these two lines. So basically, what I'm getting at is this week here, RSI was down here. We were not in the overbought zone. The next week we were, and yes, it looks like even before this line intersected here, we were in it, but that's not how it works. It's based on a closing basis. So all that to say, 1 week here, 2 weeks here, 3 weeks. Before this instance, 3 weeks was the longest that Bitcoin Cash has ever been in the overbought zone before. Now we've done 5 weeks. 5 weeks, with the potential for this to be 6 weeks, honestly. We haven't seen a bounce yet. I did say in my video earlier that closing above here would actually be kind of nice. We would be in a position to bounce off of the overbought zone, and if we did that, guys, this is a very bullish look. Being in the overbought zone this long, it is the longest that we've been in the overbought zone in Bitcoin Cash's history. That in itself, to me, does say that we are overdue for somewhat of a down move. That does, you know, I think that we're overdue for that, but maybe not yet. Maybe we go up, and if we were to go up from here, if we were to bounce off of this area in the RSI, you guys, this wouldn't be a small bounce. This would be a continuation of this overall move that we had here. So definitely bullish things brewing. I'm not bullish. I'm still not bullish. We haven't had confirmation one way or another, right? And that's why it's so important, regardless of what you think, what you feel, whatever your like, I don't know, subconscious is pulling you to, you need to stay to the game plan. You need to have a game plan of sorts, and you need to stay to it. My game plan at the moment is to buy Bitcoin Cash around the 0.5, a little bit above the 0.5, if not below that, actually. And you know, maybe the 382. I was talking about moving my buy orders up a little bit, and I might buy there now. My buy orders still, my highest one is at 180. I have it layered all the way down to 145, which is just below this 618. But most of the buying is, I have like 4 or 5 buy orders. I forget. It's been some time since I've checked. I might have moved one and just put it back at this lower area. I don't know, but most of them are between like here, and I do have one buy order with about 15% of my position just below the 618 there. But that's me, you know, that's just what I'm doing. I'm not trying to talk about that. I'm really trying to talk about the TA. And what I was saying earlier in my video earlier today, not too long ago, was that we're looking for this battle of the 236s to be resolved. I've got this here. You know, we're battling it out right now. It's red dragon versus green dragon, really. Just moving sideways. It's not a dramatic battle, you know. It's more of like a staring contest, I would say. So who's going to blink first? We've got from this low to this high, we have the 236 there. I'm going to draw a line. I'm going to let's put a horizontal ray. We don't ever use that. Let's do that. Horizontal ray. Oh, and it's red. Gotta love that. It matches. horizontal ray right there. So if we were to close a day below this line, that would be the first signal that we might be going down. The second signal, and the more condemning signal, would be to have a day that opens and closes below this line. Because we've already had 2 days that closed below this line, but it didn't promote any further growth to the downside or shrinkage. You know, maybe it's not growing; it's doing the opposite of growing. You know, we closed below it, but then the next day we closed above it. Closed below it here, next day we bullishly engulfed. So I'd like to see a day that closes below it, but I'd mainly like to see a day that opens and closes below it. To me, that'd be confirmation that we are going lower. If we were to be bullish, if you're on the bullish side, you want the green dragon to win the staring contest, I would say that this 236 here, same kind of thing. And you know, I think I drew that line a little bit too high. There we go. That's more on par there. Same kind of thing, and I know it looks a little confusing. Maybe I will change the colors of these actually. Let's make them yellow. Screw it, yellow it is. Yellow. So same kind of thing. I would like to see a day close above this for my first kind of check mark. The second thing, the more condemning thing for the bears, the more vindicating thing for the bulls would be to open and close a candle above this line here. Now, all that being said, if we had a big move, right? If we had a day, if today, for example, was to close above here, above this low close, I would say, okay, screw it. You don't need a candle that opens and closes above. You're probably good to go. Just as I would, you know, if we had a candle that, you know, if it closed below this wick down here, below these high points here, if we had a candle that closed below that, I would say the same thing. We don't need a candle that opens and closes. I would already say that's a confirmed move to the downside. Same thing with the upside. So be aware of that as well. But right now, guys, we're just in this range. We are battling it out between the 236s, not giving either way. If we look at the 4-hour on the RSI, we are kind of bullish right now. But overall, this is a very neutral looking RSI. I know it looks like we made a nice move up here, but look at really what happened, right? We've been in this kind of zone, right, for quite some time. This zone to this zone here, something like this, okay? And anytime that we've gone out of this zone, we came back. Anytime that we tipped out of it, we came back. Tipped out of it, came back. We've gone out of it now, and we have been out of it more, I would say, than any time else in this range. It definitely is bullish, but you are rejecting the bullish control zone at the 60 level, which isn't necessarily a good thing. You did come up into the bullish control zone and reject it immediately after, and then rejected the bullish control zone after that, so that's not encouraging. I would say overall, this RSI is neutral with a bullish tilt to it at the moment, with a bullish tilt, but you know, back here it was neutral with the bearish tilt, and that still didn't promote much. So we've got some work to do. It's not much work. You really don't need much for this thing to choose a direction. Again, if I was to, let me see, I can go back all the way, yeah, to these yellow lines. This is what we would want to see give in order to confirm a breakout to either side, or to confirm a directional move to either side. I am still overall bearish, you guys. I definitely am still overall bearish. I do still expect to see prices around, you know, below 180. Personally, I do expect to see that. But as I was saying earlier, and as Mr. John Binky pointed out a couple days ago, from low to top here, you know, if you go back in Bitcoin Cash's history, anytime that it's had a significant top, this is a long time. This is a long time that we have taken to not have a move that's gone at least to 40%. You know, to only be at 29% after 3 weeks to the downside, that's kind of abnormal for Bitcoin Cash. Okay, what would also be abnormal for Bitcoin Cash is to bounce off the 236. We've never had this shallow of a retracement ever off of a significant move. Could it happen off of the strongest move that we've ever seen on the weekly, where we've also had 5 weeks to the upside here in this overbought zone, and potentially bounce off of this area? It could happen. It sounds like picture perfect storybook, you know what I mean? But again, we are battling it out between these two 236s here. So until something like that happens, until we get a clean break to either side, I'm sticking with my original game plan, with my original thought, with the original thesis that Bitcoin Cash throughout its whole entire existence, throughout every single time, it has not once had a retracement that did not at least go to the 382, or I guess it went slightly above it, like so slightly. Like you would definitely make it below 210, between $201 and $210. You would definitely go somewhere around there at a minimum. That's the minimum drop that we've ever seen in Bitcoin Cash's history, and that happened once. every other instance, every single other instance, the minimum that we saw was just above the 0.5, right? So like somewhere around here, around like 180. And then, you know, at the maximum, you could have an extension down, you could go to the 886, but I would more expect to see a move between there and the 0.69. Because again, guys, it's very, I know I keep itching my nose, man. I don't know. I was outside all day. Maybe I got some stuff in my nose. I'm sorry. If you guys have been paying attention to that, I'm not picking my nose, but man, it itches. And it's not runny, but it's annoying. It's definitely annoying. Anyways, I would expect that somewhere like this is still in the plans. It's my expectation at the moment. I'm not scared by this sideways price action. I'm not scared by this bullish engulfing candle. We had a bullish engulfing candle over here, and look, you know, we went up a little bit and then went down. Okay, so and again, you know, if this was like the same scenario, right? Treat this bullish engulfing candle like this here. You know, we did close above the 236. If we were to move this down here, we did close above it, but then the next day we opened above it and then closed below it. So that would be the false signal, or like the real signal that this was a false move up. We didn't get confirmation. And that's why, guys, confirmation is so important. As emotional as you can get, and I don't know if I said this already. I feel like I might have started this and I got sidetracked, but as emotional as you can get, or as fearful of missing out on a move, or like you have to make an immediate move like right now during this hour, this minute. Sometimes looking at the daily and seeing that, you know, you should wait for the day to close so that the candle itself is closed, getting that confirmation, because a lot can happen. You know, by the time I made my video, we were up here at like 253, and that would have been the first step in that confirmation to the upside, but we didn't. We actually closed below it. So, you know, at the moment, like as emotional as that might feel while you're at the highs for this point, which by the way, guys, we're still down below 260. A lot of you guys were bullish down here over like 265, 270 area, you know what I mean? And now here we are below 250. So as strong as those emotions can be, that you want to see this thing break to the upside, and as strong as my emotions were that I don't want to miss this move to the upside, you got to put yourself in check. You got to put yourself in check and wait for these closes to happen. Get the confirmation you need. Sometimes, yes, guys, sometimes in an hour, boom, you're up there. And you're waiting for confirmation and you still miss it. And the way to kind of combat that, you'd look at shorter time frames, but sometimes moves like that just happen, and if you miss it, you miss it. That's the sad reality of it. It really is. But that doesn't mean you have to miss the whole move. You know, sometimes that's just the beginning. Maybe you pump up like this, then you move sideways, and then you go higher. I don't know. Just hypothetically speaking there. But what I'm trying to get at is it's very important whether you're bullish or bearish. And I'm bearish, but I'm not tooting my horn. I'm not like, oh, we're definitely going down here, right? My last video was like, man, I'm putting this area under more heavy consideration. I even gave this as a bottom as a consideration, which I haven't done this whole time. But got to be fair here, you know, we haven't had confirmation one way or another yet. I would say that overall this still does look bearish to me on a daily. I know on the weekly, right, we've got this nice like bounce, or not bounce yet. We're in a position where we could bounce off of this area and look very bullish. Counter to that, we've been up here longer than we ever have been, right, by 2 weeks off of 3 weeks. So that in itself is like 66% of the time longer than we ever have been in Bitcoin Cash's history. We are overdue for a drawback. We're overdue for this RSI to cool off, but it does not need to right now. It could go up higher, form some bearish divergence, and then cool off. That is totally fine. That could totally happen. And if that happens, this little move, as small as this looks, it'll be strong. It'll definitely be a more than 100% move, in my opinion. If we were to get that, at least like an 80% move, but I would think more than 100% move from this current low to wherever it would end up, if not more. You know, it doesn't even have to stop. It doesn't even have to be a lower high. It doesn't have to be bearish divergence. This could go through and be like bullish convergence. But I'm not expecting that. That's not my expectation. I admit it as a possibility. I would not admit it as a likelihood. Right now, to me, the likelihood is that 100% of the time in Bitcoin Cash's history, you guys, from bottom to top, the minimum, the absolute minimum that we've seen was just above the 382, which would be, again, probably below 210. I'll show you where I'm talking about, okay? You take this bottom here, and you go up here. Just above, literally just above the 382, right there. Every other instance, right, if we were to take that same low and go up to this high, you went down to the 0.69, okay? If we were to take this low here, you had extensions down to the 1618 even, you know what I mean? you can measure the fib on any other instance, and the minimum besides that one time, the minimum after that would be just above the 0.5 area. If not, sometimes and often enough that you do go below. I would say the most common thing for Bitcoin Cash is to actually go to this 0.5 area, somewhere around there, whether it's just above or just below. That's actually a very common move to make. So if I had to lean one way, it's not a hard thing for me to decide, you know. But again, the reason I made my video with this kind of more bullish tilt to it earlier today is because we are doing things that we haven't done before. We 100% are, and I think that merits putting unexpected moves under a closer microscope, you know, and paying attention to that, because the last thing you want to do is miss the next move up. But even with that in mind, even with all that intent and emotion in me, and maybe in you guys too, you have to keep yourself in check and stick to your game plan. And right now, whatever your game plan is, you know, that's up to you. This isn't financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor, but my game plan is to wait for this bad boy to get around the 0.5 area, likely below the 180 area, and then see from there what we're doing. You know, likely at least a 40% drop, which again, you know, a 44% drop would take us right above this green area, which is exactly where I'm, you know, the same kind of price that I'm looking for. And we've seen 44, we've seen 43 point whatever percent drops happen before, and most of the time, I would say, I think if we went back, I didn't measure all of these drops. I didn't measure these ones, but if we were to go back and measure any move that resembles something significant like this, even these little significant ones here, at a minimum you've dropped like 23%, which were already greater than that, and that happened one time. And then every other time you've been at least 43%, if not down to 60%, 70%, 80% even. I don't think we're going to see deeper retracements like that. And I was even saying on a video like 2 videos ago that I think we might have our first 50% retracement. None of them have been in the 50% range. They've either been lesser than 50% or greater than 60%. But I think we might have our first 50% retracement. That is totally possible, because that lines up where I kind of would expect it to go, which is this previous topping range. It's very common to find support on a previous area of resistance. Okay. I don't know, like here, right? You've got resistance here. Well, that's a little bit lower. Maybe it's like right there. I need the line. Let's see. I don't know, like resistance right there, okay? And you found support on this line later down the road. You know, we kind of found support on it here even. And then we found, you know, you could even take it a step further back. You actually found support on it right here, and then you found resistance on it over here. So it's very common to find support on previous areas of resistance. It's not a bad thing at all to do. I'm trying to see. I don't know. Yeah. Anyways, I feel like I'm getting a little sidetracked here. I don't have really too much more to. Oh yeah, that's what I wanted to say. This on the daily time frame. I got sidetracked, man. I don't know why I got sidetracked. I'm all over the place. I'm sorry, guys. Even though we have this potential bullish look on the weekly, we have the same kind of bearish potential look on the daily, where we could be rejecting the 50, and this would not be a good look. This would imply that we're likely going to go lower and see oversold territory, if not at least bounce off it like we did here. But that would imply lower prices for sure, one way or another. So that's something to watch for. That's something to watch for on the daily. That's something to watch for on the weekly. Anytime that we've came out of the overbought zone, anytime that we've come out of the overbought zone and broke out of it, we've had at a minimum a 25 or a 23% drop, which we've already passed that, and then everything else past that was like a 40% drop or more. So it was like 43% drop or more. So again, that a 44% drop would take us around 180, and that's like the high of the range that I'm expecting us to go. I'm not convinced either way at the moment. If I had to be convinced, if I had to put my money on it, and I am, or I guess I'm not putting my money on it, which is the point, I do think we're going to go lower. But to confirm that, again, you'd want to see a break, a convincing break with like compelling behavior, not this little wigwag shit that we've been seeing. You want to break below the 236, have another day that opens and closes below it, and continue to move down, like something that, what's the word I'm looking for, validates, but confirms it, you know. And then same thing to the upside. if this whole idea that we're going lower is to be proven wrong, and bouncing off the 236 area is not unheard of. That's actually, it happens, man. It's less common, but you tend to see that with stronger moves, and this is absolutely a stronger move. So it fits, in my opinion. But same thing with this 236. So the ranges to watch, they're very tight right now. Okay, it's a very tight range. The range to watch is the same range that I gave earlier, between 243.2 and 251.75, basically. You know, somewhere in there. If we can get days that close and open above or below those lines, and that it wouldn't take much, man. That's only like a few dollars either way. I think we would have more vindication in the direction that we're going. If I had to guess, if I had to put my money on it or not put my money on it, I would say that we are going down, and that's exactly why I'm not investing here. And yeah, I don't know if I have really anything else that I want to add. Maybe. I feel like I might have done this in a previous video, but someone was asking, and I might have already answered this, but someone was asking where Bitcoin Cash is going to go ultimately. And I think ultimately, guys, Bitcoin Cash is due this bull run, this bull cycle, by the end of 2025, if not sooner, but by the end of 2025, Bitcoin Cash is going at least to 13K, and very likely, in my opinion, to the 1414 even, right over there. So anywhere between 13 to like 23, 25K, you could even go above it. I doubt that we go to 53K. I very much do doubt that, but it is possible. It is completely possible. It could happen in this bull run. It really could. But I would say the more likely answer would be one of these two. And at least this one. At least this one. That's my genuine expectation for where this thing goes overall. And someone commented, I forget who it was. I'm sorry. I forget who it was. I don't think it was Andy. It might have been Andy. But maybe it was someone else. I don't know. Someone commented saying that Bitcoin Cash being down 93%. I don't think it was Andy. It was someone else. Being down 93%. If we go top to bottom, it's actually 94% to the downside right now. That this is you can make the argument that this is a good time to buy. And I answered with that being below 500 is even a good time to buy, right? Because let's see, if we were to move this up to $500, you're still at about 90%. You're at 88%. Like, I would say, even if this thing was twice as high as it is now, you're still at a good time to buy, because again, this thing is going to go up for this bull market. We're going to see 13K or more. So we are truly blessed. And this kind of thinking like this is perfect for people who like to DCA. If you want a dollar cost average, if you want to, no matter what the price is doing, put $100, $1,000, $10, whatever your income is, that's not going to screw you over. Maybe it's more than $1,000 that you can do like every week. What if you can buy every week, or maybe you buy it every other week, maybe you're buying every day, and obviously if you're buying every day it would be a smaller amount, but if you dollar cost average now, I promise you, even if this thing drops 50% from here, you are not going to be kicking yourself in the ass a year and a half from now. That's for sure. So it is a good time to buy. All of this really, I mean, truthfully, below this high here, even below $1,000, is a good time to buy. So we're in the good time to buy zone. But if you're like me and you want to try to make the most out of this potential buying opportunity that we're coming up upon, I would say patience is a virtue. Patience is key. And this could be the bottom itself. This could be the low of this retracement. And maybe it's the best time to buy right now. I don't know. That's why we're waiting for confirmation one way or another. And as much as I'd like to get in this thing and just not worry about it, I could not rest easy believing, and I do believe, that Bitcoin Cash has the potential to drop 26% or more. 26 to, let's say here, at the most, maybe like 45%. And it could go lower than that. It really could go lower than that, but that is my expectation, 26 to 45%. I could not rest easy buying here, knowing that it will likely go to 13K at a minimum. And that is my genuine expectation. I couldn't rest easy with the fact that I do believe that we're going to have some kind of a significant drop in the coming days, coming weeks, something like that. Oh man, there was something I wanted to talk about with Monday. Oh man, I know this is a long video, guys. I know this is a long video, but we got to look at BCH BTC. This will be the last thing before I finish it off. BCH BTC on Coinbase here. So this might help us. This might be a little bit more telling, right? So if we're looking at BCH BTC at the moment, let's see. Let's do a similar kind of analysis here, okay? From top to bottom. So you're still battling this 236 as well. They look very similar. They do look very similar. But here you had a green week where on the USD pair you had a red week. From this low to this high, you did close actually. This week, oh no, you didn't close below. You did not close below the 236. Okay, that's good. If you did, that actually might have been condemning. That could have been bad. But still kind of wishy-washy one way or another. On the daily, man, okay. On the daily, you've closed below the 236 a lot. You know, you've been below this range, and you did just close above it. This is primed for a fake out, in my opinion. This would be the kind of day that you closed above it, and now you're going to reject it back down, and then continue to have these days that open and close below it. I really do think the BCH BTC pair wants to go to the 382. If not lower, which means that if Bitcoin drops in the coming days to weeks, Bitcoin Cash is going to drop more, okay? It's going to drop more. And let's see, where could it drop? I'm going to delete these little white lines here, little squiggles. If Bitcoin Cash, let's just say it was to drop from its current price on the BCH BTC chart, that's like a 16% drop. Maybe it goes down to the 618, which is like a 35% drop. Okay, so 16 to 35. BTC USD, Coinbase. If Bitcoin was to go, and I'm expecting Bitcoin, you guys, to go below this 382 here. I am expecting that to happen. If it were to go below the 382, so I'm thinking probably at least a 5% drop from the current prices, if not likely more so to the 618. Bitcoin likes the 618 like Bitcoin Cash likes the 0.5, okay? And if anything, it might go even further than that. So if Bitcoin's going to drop anywhere from like 5 to 10% from its current price, and Bitcoin Cash is going to lose anywhere between 16 to 35% of its valuation, what's that going to do to it from here? Like, could it lose 20% from its current price in US dollars? Yeah, it definitely could. Could it lose more than that? And again, if it was to lose, 26% from its current value, I think that puts it right at the areas that I'm looking at. Let's see. Yeah, 26% is right there at 180. This is totally possible. And in my opinion, looking at the BCH BTC chart on Coinbase, I'm pretty convinced by this fib that we are going to see that. We're probably likely going to see that. Let's see. Let's look at the RSI again, maybe on the weekly. Weekly did close out of the overbought zone. See, now this is where you might get some more telling stuff. You did close out of the overbought zone. Have we ever done this before and come back up? On this chart, there's not enough historical data. I mean, I guess this almost went back to its inception. So anytime, literally anytime, which this is the third time, that we've gone overbought and closed out of the overbought zone, we have gone all the way down to the oversold zone. If not into it, at least to it and bounced off. You know, and here we went into it a little bit, bounced off, but these peaks are spread out. You know, you don't see another peak come up afterwards. So I am looking at the BCH BTC chart. I am a little bit more inclined to be bearish than just looking at the BCH. Did I say BCH USD? BCH BTC more bearish than BCH USD. That's my inclination. Anyways, guys, I wanted to throw that in there. Maybe look at the 4-hour. Kind of neutral with the bullish tilt, just like the USD pair. I don't know. I think this is a bull trap, man. I think this is a bull trap, honestly. I think we're about to have our move down. I really do. But who knows? You know, that's just my opinion. This is not financial advice. If you guys like the video, leave a thumbs up, subscribe to see more. I think that's all I got for y'all at the current point in time. I want to see. Let's see here, man. If you want to stop watching, you can. But I'm just going to do a little extra here for now. I mean, no, you kind of broke that. That's not necessarily bad. I don't know. You can break out of it though. It doesn't. It's close. It's close, man. It is pretty close. I don't know. Rejecting these areas. Rejecting these areas, right? You've done it before, and that sent you all the way down to the oversold zone, right? You might have came back up, but then inevitably did it. I don't know. Inevitably, right, whenever you were over here, you did go lower. And I would expect overall that the final drop day. Let's go back and look and see. Let's identify all the bottoms. This is the little bonus if you want at the end. Okay, this is what the first bottom that we're going to identify looks like. Okay, nice wick to the downside. Relative to this volume, very low volume, right? But if we're to keep moving back and get that volume off the screen, this is actually relatively high volume for what we saw throughout this range. Okay, so that's the bottom there. Okay, this is a bottom here. Notice big flush out to the downside. Notice big flush out to the downside. Okay. Keep going. All right, we had a bottom here. Not so much of a big flush out. You know, relative to these moves, it was, but not really. So I guess there, but that wasn't the real bottom, was it? I don't know. Let's keep going back. Kind of found a low here. You know, you were moving down methodically and then big flush out to the downside to mark the low, okay? And then you moved down methodically, you didn't have your big flush out, you double bottomed and you went up. You could argue the same thing here for these, but I don't know, that's like right after the all-time highs. Bottom in this range here, after from going top to bottom, you had a big flush out to the downside. Sure, you had some bigger candles here, but the biggest one happened at the bottom there. The biggest one didn't happen at the bottom here, but you did have a big flush out to the downside. Let's see. Let's just keep going. Let's see here. Now this, again, a kind of another double bottom scenario where this one was not that big, but the first one was really big. Bottom there. Very big candle to the downside. This time, kind of an oddity. Small candles, big candle, and then a couple smaller candles. But again, you still had a big candle flush before you found your low. Out of all of these candles, the biggest one was this one, 5%, right? Oh, 5.31, 5.84. So technically it was the biggest one, but not by much. But you had smaller candles up here as you got to the end of the move. These are small candles still, but relative to the move, bigger candles. I don't know. Here, this disagrees with everything that I've been saying. You had your big candles up here, and then you had your small ones down here. I don't know, guys. I would genuinely expect that whenever we see the low, even with, you know, some of the ones that were, what's the word? They were the variants. They weren't true to this. I would say that whenever we find the low, we're going to get a bigger candle to the downside than anything that we've seen so far. That'll be a signal. And if that candle doesn't mark the low, it's going to mark the beginning of the end, if that makes sense. It's going to be the beginning of the end of this down move. Maybe we get a big candle down and then 2 or 3 days later we move a little bit lower, but this big candle will be the signal that, hey, this is kind of good time, prime time to buy. And we haven't seen that yet. So I would, I would pay attention to that, wait for that. Yeah, I don't know. That's all I got to say. If you guys like the video, again, I really appreciate the likes, comments, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. Thank you so much. I know this video went on a little bit longer, but I had a lot to say for some reason, so take it easy. Have a good night. Bye-bye.